So, welcome back to Beat the Lockdown. We're here for part two of this week's Festival Face-Off. We're looking for the best festival of 2005, and we are deciding that by deciding tracks from each of these playlists, and the festivals get points based on which tracks get picked. So, for part two, we'll switch up and we'll start with Pete.
You went for The Bravery, An Honest Mistake, Streets, Blinded by the Lights, Bloc Party, Helicopter, and Oasis, The Importance of Being Idle.
And Tom.
I went for Bloc Party, Helicopter, Feeder, Feeling the Moment, Bravery, Honest Mistake, and Basement Jaxx, Good Luck.
Right, this is going to be interesting. Okay, so my picks were Bloc Party, Helicopter, Feeder, Feeling the Moment, Bravery, Honest Mistake, and The Streets, Blinded by the Lights. There was a moment where I thought we're going to have like full agreement on this, and then I remembered that I remembered that Pete wouldn't pick Feeder. It was a weird list, this, because there were some real no's in this list. Not a fan at all of that Magic Numbers song.
No.
Wasn't a fan of that Iron Maiden track. My surprise in this one was that Motorhead track. I really liked that Motorhead track. I so nearly picked it, and I was like, well, no, you do like at least 6 songs more than that, but I nearly picked it just because it surprised me how much I liked it. But yeah, I mean, we all quite obviously picked Bloc Party. I think understandably,
I'd say it's one of their best songs.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got odd feelings with Helicopter, because it's a song that it's one of the songs that got me into Bloc Party. But then when I listen to them, it's their more sort of melancholy songs that I like a lot more. You know, 2 More Years and Modern Love. This Modern Love, sorry. And some of the other tracks on that first album. Helicopter, oddly, actually has ended up being one of my least favourite songs on that album, but I still think it's an exceptional song. I think it just shows how good that album was as a whole. When we look back, I mean, we're starting to look back now and over that period sort of wistfully, but when we look back in another 15, 20 years, that will definitely be seen as one of those sort of albums of that age of indie music, along with things like Employment by the Kaiser Chiefs, I imagine.
I don't know. I don't know about Employment. I think Silent Alarm will still look back on quite fondly, but not so sure about Employment. I think it's going to be a bit more forgotten, but who knows?
I think the difference is that Bloc Party will be looked back at by fans of that genre, whereas I think Kaiser Chiefs were one of those bands, I think, and you know, obviously not in the list, but you know, since we're talking about them anyway, they're one of those bands that I think they garnered some support based on, you know, the tracks and what have you, but they were definitely a band that benefited enormously from playing at festivals. People always raved about how good they were at festivals, not necessarily live, but at festivals, because
They're just fun at festivals, aren't they? That's sort of the energy they bring sort of gets the crowd going a bit.
Yeah.
Their creative steam ran out, just like Bloc Parties did, actually. I mean,
yeah.
You look at both of their second albums, and then neither of them are a patch on the first.
Yeah, but I think that across the board was quite a prevalent theme of that scene. Some bands, I mean, for me, I preferred like I preferred the Strokes' second album to the first album, just about, depending
So
on.
I can get on board with that. I don't know if I agree, but I can certainly get on board with that point of view. But so many other bands just was a big drop off.
Yeah, we've talked in the past about the fact that we prefer Aha Shake to Youth and Young Manhood. And I think in general, though, you're right. There was a drop off for a lot of bands. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily fair for Bloc Party. I think the difficulty is that when their second album came out, their first album was so good that it was difficult for them to replicate it. But there were some fantastic tunes on that second album.
Yeah, you're right. But also, I think that the album sounded too polished, and there were some great tracks, but there was also some forgettable.
Yeah. I mean, it was something that I discussed in the interview I did with Billy Lunn, is that he was saying about the production level on The Prayer is so good. It sounds great. But I think you're right. That's how some of the rest of the album suffered. I think Song for Clay as the opening track is a really good opening track. But you're right that I'm actually struggling to think of 2 or 3 of the tracks on the album. Whereas with the first album, it wall to wall, bar maybe 1 or 2 tracks, is just tune after tune after tune after tune. So yeah, I get why we've all picked that. We've also, I believe, all picked The Bravery.
Just now, banger, enough said.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. It's I think of that era of indie music, I would say 100% that's in my top 10 tracks of that period of time. Shame they didn't really follow it up, because I think they had the capability to, but that was just such a good song. And any time I hear that song, I love it. Anytime.
What have they done since? Like, I do not know of any.
I'm sure they did a second album. They all sort of. He wrote. The singer ended up writing. Is it She Wolf for Shakira?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I guess that's the thing, is that there's so many people that have these sort of storied things that happen after they've been in music or before their bands got there. I mean, like, one of the ones I remember was like, okay, they're a bit of a dirty word in sort of alternative music now, but when songs about Jane came out, Maroon 5 had been plodding around for 6-7 years as multiple different bands, and then just hit the nail on the head with that album, and then just became global megastars out of over the next 5-6 years. And that sometimes that just happens in music. Sometimes you create a track like this, disappear, but you're actually still in the industry, popping out decent songs here, there and everywhere, but people would never know unless you look into it. We've then got, I think actually we already have a consensus on this list.
It's Honest Mistake, Blinded by the Lights and Helicopter. I think we all 3 of us did all 3 of those.
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't. We have, so Bloc Party, all 3 of us picked. Bravery, all 3 of us picked. Me and you picked The Streets, Pete. We, again, something else we discussed when I sent over the playlists to you guys. Really like that track. I much prefer the Nero remix version though, just because it gives it another edge to it. It's something that you can then put on a night out, or it.
I really love the song. I don't have an issue with the song, but the sort of mindset I go into with the festival playlist is, can I imagine myself being in a tent or being in front of a stage, really enjoying listening to the song? And for me, there was songs that I thought, you know what, if this came on while I was at a festival, I'd be getting involved. It'd be great. That one, I was like, I'd love to listen to it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it has the energy for me to really make me want to see it at a festival.
Well, I think that's actually, you've made my point for me, which is I've seen Nero play the live version of Blinded by the Lights, and it was insane. Like the whole tent just went off, because it was a tune that people like, but because his remix it gives it that kind of more dancey beat to it.
It's a song set in a club, and he's clubbified it even more.
Yeah.
And so the theme of the song has become the backbone of it as well, and it just takes it to another level.
Yeah. The other one that got more than one pick was the feeder track, Feeling a Moment. Again, I think really good festival song. There's little bits in a lot of these songs that we're picking whereby you can remember being in a crowd if you've seen these people live at a festival, and people kind of going along to that part of the song. And there's definite elements of that in this feeder track.
Yeah, that was the sole reason I chose it.
You know, for many people, Feeder have always been one of those bands that are kind of they're just a festival band to them. They're not that to me. As a sort of diehard Feeder fan since God knows when, but to many people that I talk to, or when I've gone to festivals with people, they've always been willing to go and see them at a festival because, you know, they want to see Buck Rogers and they want to see Just the Day and what have you, and they do have a good festival presence. But this is a really good festival track.
I see they've just released. I say just released. They re-released Just a Day.
Yeah, Just a Day too for
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you may or may not have been aware, Reese, of the original video was just a bunch of fans rocking out to it in their bedroom, and was quite popular. Like people quite liked it because it was a little bit different. So they redid it as an anniversary thing, and I think, you know, the proceeds went to various charities supporting, you know, the current crisis. It was quite good fun. There's some slightly cringy bits in it, but yeah, the bits I liked were the bits when they'd got people who were in the original and they showed them side by side with them in the original, and then, you know,
isn't one of them with his son as well or something?
Yeah. So in the original, he's with his mate, and I think like it's his housemate. And then in the new version, he's doing the exact same thing, but his son is doing the bit that his friend was doing in the.
I thought it was really cool actually when I saw that, and it made me smile. Just that's a nice little part back to the original.
That was the whole point of the video in the first place. It's kind of it's just a sort of you know, rocking out in your bedroom. So yeah, I mean, we've got 4 tracks that already have multiples. I mean, ones that didn't get.
I'm a little surprised no one did Lady Flash. Because that was nearly my number 4. It was a toss up between Go Team and Oasis, and I hummed and heard quite a bit before settling on Oasis, but I love that Lady Flash track. But their whole first album, and I like the second one as well. Actually, they're both really good.
I go in circles with that track. Like sometimes I can listen to it, sometimes I can't be bothered with it. It's a good fun track. I think the only reason it wouldn't have been in my 4 is just because, you know, the 4 I've picked are all 4 tracks that I wouldn't have to really struggle with picking. There were multiple songs in this list that in any other list I might have picked. You know, that was one. I actually do like that Travis track, Beautiful Occupation. I remember actually when it came out and thinking, oh, Travis are back, and then they kind of bumbled along again after that. I've always loved Love Is a Drug by Roxy Music. It just wasn't quite there to be in the top 4. I was saying before we started recording, that Motorhead track was a nice surprise. I actually really liked it as well. Point to Be an Idol. I really liked it when it came out. I don't think it's weathered well though.
I don't think I'd want to see it at a festival.
No,
I'm happy listening to it, but I don't think.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, if you were seeing Oasis at a festival,
it's not exactly a rocker.
No,
I think is kind of why a lot of people liked it, because it is something a little bit different from Oasis.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. It's okay. I do like that Moby track as well. But again, I like it, but it wouldn't quite make the list. The Basement Jaxx track, you picked that, didn't you, Tom?
Yes, yeah.
Again, yeah. I mean, on a different day, could have been on there.
Right.
The Fatboy Slim one, I really struggle with because
I'm not a fan of that at all. I love Fatboy Slim, but I do not like that track.
No, I struggled with it.
I found this across the board with Palookaville as an album. The first minute and a half of at least all the singles and a couple of the other album tracks are really good. And then it just kind of turns into this just, I don't know, just noisy nonsense. I don't know. It's such a shame because the start of that track, I love, absolutely love. The first minute 20 seconds, minute 30 seconds. And then it just kind of, I don't know, I can't describe it any more than it turns into noise. And it's such a shame because
I just don't, the sample just starts to grate on me after just a couple of times.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is that's the shame of it, is that when you look back to a song we picked in the previous year playlist that we did, the 2013 one with Right Here, Right Now, he managed to find a way musically for repetition to be fine in that song.
Yeah, same with Praise You as well.
Yeah.
I mean, effectively just using the same sample over and over again. I think it's because of the length of the sample.
All but one track from that album features someone else in the writer's credits. So it's him working alongside someone that, I don't know, just hasn't gelled with.
Yeah.
Or they have, but it's not come off.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I like the sample he uses, but you're right, Pete, it's overused. So yeah, I mean, we unfortunately have not picked Oasis or Basement Jaxx, which were both each one of your choices. I very much win this playlist, as all four of my picks have gone through. But yeah, the 4 picks we have picked from this one are Bloc Party, Helicopter, Bravery, Honest Mistake, Streets, Blinded by the Lights, and Feeder, Feeling a Moment. Now, just to clarify which they came from. So Bloc Party were Reading and Leeds. Let's have a look here. Feeder were Download, believe it or not. They were headlining. The Streets were V Festival, and the Bravery were Wireless. So, okay, yeah. So now we're after 2 playlists. Reading and Leeds are in the lead with 3 choices. Isle of Wight and V Festival tied for second with 2 choices, and Download and Wireless both have 1. Yet to get off the mark are Festival and Glastonbury, which was one of our winners from 2013. So join us for part 3, where we will be crowning what we believe to be the best festival of 2005 with our 3rd playlist. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.